Hey everybody, welcome to the video. Just going over the second race of the doubleheader this weekend over at Pocono Raceway. Not really looking forward to two Pocono races in a row, plus this one's just a little bit longer, which kind of sucks from a viewing standpoint because they're not that exciting of races, but still two NASCAR DFS slates in a row, so I am looking forward to it. I'm sure you guys are as well, and that first Pocono race was a very tilting experience. There's a lot that went right in that race for me, and there was a couple of daggers. I know most of you probably know exactly who I'm talking about. Cough, cough, Erik Jones just wrecking and finishing last is absolutely going to crush your day, but what are you going to do, So, but anyway, before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, you might as well hit that subscribe button. We're going to be here all season long trying to help you guys become better NASCAR DFS players and cover other sports as well. Baseball is coming back, and NBA is coming back as well in late July, and that's next month. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure you guys are as well. You can hit me up on the socials at ChrisPennell16 on Twitter, at CPen16 on Instagram, and you can support my content over on Patreon. And I got about 300 members over there right now, so we're growing the community. I really do appreciate everyone that does support me over there. And despite Erik Jones being one of the top plays in the entire slate, we still had a guy take down a single entry tournament, which was pretty awesome. So congrats to you. I'm sure you're watching this video and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't know your exact name, so don't know what to call you, but shout out to you. But you guys get the idea. I could show you the Patreon thing, but just wanted to make this a quicker video, so let's get into it. I guess we can do the preview. I mean, not much has changed besides there being 10 more laps, but just to keep this in orderly fashion as usual, this is Pocono number 2. There's your outline of the track. It is a big triangle. Some of you might not have even seen the Saturday video, so I guess I should talk about this briefly, but if you want a more in-depth of this, just watch the first video I posted yesterday, or I think on Thursday. I can't remember. But this is the tricky triangle at Pocono. It is a large, flat track, and it is literally a triangle. It's 2.5 miles in length. It is a monster, huge track. It's ginormous is the word I'm trying to look for. And instead of 103 laps this time, we have 140, which means there is 105 Dominator points available, meaning Dominator points are not that important as usual. They're, I guess, a tad bit more important than Saturday's race because there's just a little bit more, but really they're not going to be that important. And a lot of our good plays on this slate come from the back, so I'm kind of viewing this as a place differential kind of race because there's a lot of good drivers in the back, as you will see when we go to the driver-by-driver breakdown. Not really anyone I'm targeting up front because we have Ryan Preece and I believe Austin Dillon on the front row. And then after that, it's just give me the place differential. There's not enough laps to warrant me trying to go out of my way to get Dominators. Like in the first race, all the good cars were starting up front. We had Harvick, Truex, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney. All those guys were starting up front, so we targeted all the drivers up front because they were really cheap. Not the case this time. It's going to be the opposite. So I'm looking to play mostly place differential this race. And it's really not going to get that more complicated. So, and again, I don't think this video is going to take as long because you guys already know the stats. I did not have the time to update my spreadsheet because I wanted to get this out in a timely fashion for you guys. I want to upload this at 12 in the morning on the day of the race. So I didn't have time to update the spreadsheet. I did update the salaries and the starting spots, which is of most importance here. But I did not have time to update all the statistics. But just add a win to Kevin Harvick, add some extra points to him, and it's all not going to change too much. So we're going to be still using these stats I used on the Saturday video, but just know who did good on Saturday, and you can kind of throw that in there as well. And actually, the pricing is not too bad. We don't have Kyle Busch at 9,300 this time. I know Busch didn't dominate that race, but he still had a pretty solid race, and he actually was in the winning lineup of the guy I was talking about, the single entry, so didn't kill you at all. And I actually think he went 4 Dominators. I think he had Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex, and Denny Hammonds. You cannot do that this time because they are not this cheap, but as I said, not really focusing too much on Dominators, mostly some place differential guys, and a lot of these high-end guys are place differential guys. But before I keep rambling, let's just get into the driver-by-driver portion of this video. So Kyle Busch, he is starting 16th, and if you're wondering how they got these starting spots, they took the guys that finished 21 through 40th, and that's where they're starting, how they finished. And then the top 20 was inverted, so you're going to see Ryan Preece on the pole, and then Austin Dillon on the front row as well. All right, so we can start this. So Kyle Busch, he is the most expensive driver. Now, if he was the most expensive driver in the Saturday race, I would not have had that much interest because of how he's ran so far this year, but at 9,300, you kind of got some leeway with Kyle Busch. This time, he's 11,000, but the thing is, I still think he's in play because Kyle Busch is a guy that really excels with having practice, knowing how the car is going to handle, getting that car set up just right. And now he had a whole entire race to figure out the setup. So I actually think Kyle Busch might have one of his better races of the season. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be for him to dominate starting 16th because it's not that easy to pass at Pocono, but obviously the best cars usually rise to the top here. And also just depending on pit strategy, they could get up front pretty easily. So having a whole race under his belt in his exact car, I think Kyle Busch should have one of his stronger races here, but not surprised me if he comes out and gets a win. And, at 11,000, I know he's really pricey, and the thing is, we do not have very many good value plays, so it's going to be probably pretty hard to fit him in. I mean, this is my first rundown through the entire slate. I'm going to have my more polished thoughts on Patreon. I still got to write my article, do my projections and all that, but I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible, so we're going to be going through this together, but just down low, there's not really anyone worth playing. So I feel like probably a balanced lineup is the best way to go because a lot of the cheap guys are starting higher than they should or usually do, and there's just really not much down there. So I think a balanced lineup is probably the best way to go. But just in general, Kyle Busch starting 16th, there's a good chance he'll probably get into the top 5. We know how good he is at Pocono. Again, these numbers are not updated from yesterday, but just in the past 6 races before yesterday, these numbers are just, he's the class of the field. He's first in every single statistical category. I know this season he has not been as strong. He's only dominated one race, and that was Bristol. But he looked pretty solid, and he was a contender at Pocono yesterday. Never got up front, but he still had a pretty good car, and having a whole race under his belt to get a hold of the handling of that car, I think that's going to benefit Kyle Busch pretty good. So don't mind him. I just don't like the price tag because there's just really no good cheap guys to pair him with. Going down to Kevin Harvick, he comes in at 10,700. He is starting 20th. He won the race. He finally got his first win at the Tricky Triangle. As you can see, there's 0 wins there for the recent track history. Pretend that says 1 and pretend those other numbers are better than they are. But Kevin Harvick, he looked great. And I said, I love the JGR cars on Saturday. But that one guy I think that can give them a threat to, spoil their party of one of them winning the race is Kevin Harvick. He arguably had the best car all season. He's had the most dominant car all season. He proved that again. He came out, won the race, did very well, did not lead that many laps, and he probably could have led more laps, but the guys up front at the end of the race did not pit for a while. But he still had a pretty good race. I think he led around 20 laps, if not close to that. But still, he won the race, looked excellent. Late pit road. I think, did he take 2 tires at the end? Yeah, he took 2 tires. Almirola took 4, so it did not work out for him, but he had to get the full gas tank, so he had to get 4 anyway. But yeah, Kevin Harvick, he looked great. Starting 20th, he should be a good source of PD, and honestly, he could win the race again. It would not surprise me. And he's been the second best car at Pocono behind Kyle Busch, and he finally got that win, so just got the monkey off his back there. And I think Kevin Harvick's fine, but the only problem is there's just not that many good cheap drivers to pair him with. But if you want to make Kevin Harvick the staple of your lineup from the high end, I totally get that. It would not surprise me if he comes out and wins. He's just been so good at Pocono. This season, he's been absolutely dominant. I mean, if you're just looking at his numbers this season, pretend you can add another win there. So technically he has 3 wins, but he's got 108.6 driver rating, average running position of 7.7, averaging the most Draftkings points per race, and he scored more than that this race, so you can add on to that. He's led the most laps. He's had the most fast laps. There's nothing bad I can say about Kevin Harvick, despite not there being very many good cheap guys to fit him in your lineups as easy. But just in general, and from raw point standpoint, just from projection-wise, Kevin Harvick should grade out as one of the best plays on this slate. Now, right below him, we have Chase Elliott, 10,400. He is starting 25th, and he is another guy that got pretty unlucky in the last race. But starting in the back of the pack, he should be a pretty solid fantasy option. The only thing is, though, he is pretty expensive, and there's some other guys starting even further back that are cheaper, so I don't think Chase Elliott's a must on this slate, but he certainly is a good play. And if you're looking at his numbers, it is going to be skewed a little bit from finishing 38th that one race, kind of like what Erik Jones just did. But you can't control a guy wrecking. I wish we could, but we just can't. But Chase Elliott, he should be a contender for a top 10. I mean, he's done it multiple times here at Pocono. Don't really expect him to be a dominator, but he has had the fastest car all season long. But for 300 more, I can get Kevin Harvick, who I trust a little bit more to contend for a win at the end of the day. So I would side with Kevin Harvick over Chase Elliott, but there's nothing really bad I can say about Chase Elliott. I like his starting spot. He's a little bit cheaper than Kevin Harvick. He's had an excellent season so far this year. He's got an average running position of 6.6, 6 top 5, 1 win, 8 top 10s. Led a large chunk of laps, got a lot of fast laps, second in fast laps, only behind Kevin Harvick. He's first in average green flag speed this season, averaging the third most Draftkings points per race. Chase Elliott's fine. Just the thing is, there's just not that many good cheap guys that we could pair him with to fit him in as easy. And we got Joey Logano staring at us at 36. So it's just a little bit of a tough spot, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to have a good point total. It's just a matter if you can find a good cheap option to pair him with. And right below him, we have Denny Hammonds at 10,200. He goes from 8,800, which was an absolute joke of a price, to 10,200, which is what he should have been on Saturday. This time he's starting 19th. Look, I'm going to say pretty much the same thing I said for the past three guys in Elliott, Harvick, and Busch. They're all good plays. The only problem is they're pretty expensive. Denny Hammonds should be a top 5 contender at the end of the day. Would not surprise me if he won this race. He almost got past Harvick at the end, got right up to his bumper, but just did not have enough to give Kevin Harvick a run for his money at the end. But yeah, Denny Hammonds, he's great at flat tracks. Pocono, for the most part, is pretty flat, and I think he's going to be a pretty good play. Like I said, though, there's not many good cheap options to fit him in, but I do think he's a pretty solid play. It's definitely someone I want to get exposure to in tournaments. I think if you're building 150 lineups, you should have probably ownership to all of these guys. It might have to come to the expense of someone else that you might want to play in your lineup, but they're definitely good plays. Denny Hammonds got race-winning upside. He has recently won at Pocono, and it's been a very good track for him in his career. And if you're looking at the track type form at these large, I'm looking at Indy, Michigan, Fontana, and obviously Pocono, and he's been very good at them. One of the best average running positions. 9 top 15s, 7 top 10s, 3 top 5s. Numbers are going to be excellent for Denny Hammonds. He's had a pretty strong season all year long. So yeah, Hammonds is a good play, and he's the cheapest of the bunch, which I do like, and he's only starting one spot in front of Kevin Harvick. So yeah, I think Hammonds is an excellent play. They're all good plays up here. It's just the problem is they're a little bit pricey, and we have some really good PD plays that are priced a little bit lower than them. All right, going to the 9K tier, we have Martin Truex Jr. He is starting He's not starting 9,800. He is 9,800. He is starting 15th, and he's going to be a good option. He's going to be another guy that can contend. He was contending for the win on Saturday. Obviously, it didn't happen, but he was a contender, and he actually got up front at one point in the race and led some laps. And it would not surprise me if we see similar results. He started 11th that race. Now he's starting 15th. He's going to offer us a little bit more PD upside, and he's only $100 more. Like Denny Hammonds got a huge price bump. Kevin Harvick got not much of a price bump, but I think he went up $600. And Kyle Busch got a near $2,000 price bump. So Martin Truex price did not fluctuate that much. And I like Truex a lot on Saturday, and I think he's another solid play on Sunday. Starting 15th, 9,800, he should be able to gain around 10 spots. Would not surprise me if he gets into victory lane. He has a win here recently, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. So I think Truex is fine. There's just nothing bad I can say about Truex. He doesn't offer us as much PD upside as Kyle Busch, Harvick, Elliott, or Hamlin, but sorry, I was getting a phone call. I don't remember exactly where I stopped, but I think I was talking about Truex. I like him. His price is pretty solid. Should get a contend for a top 5, but not surprised if he wins, so he's okay. Going down to Keselowski, he is 9,600, starting 12th. He did not have the greatest race. Somehow got into the top 10 at the end of the race. He tends to do that sometimes. Like, you just never hear his name, and then he just pops into the top 10. But Keselowski has been very solid at Pocono. He's got 4 top 5s here the past 6 races, 5 top 10s, which I guess you could make that 6 now the past 7 races. Keselowski's fine. He just doesn't offer us that much PD upside, so I'm really not that interested in him. Fords have been fast all season long. They were fast on Saturday. It's just I'm viewing this as a PD race with all the guys starting further back, so I don't really see the reason to force him in our lineups. If you want to play him in tournaments and hope he gets up front and wins the race, you can do that, but not someone really on my radar this week. I say this week, but you guys know what I mean. On Sunday, just because there's better PD options at similar price points. And one of the best plays on the slate is his teammate Joey Logano. He's 9,400, starting 36th. He was actually having a pretty good run on Saturday, but ended up having a tire issue. Had to come down to the pits. Was down in his pit stall forever. I don't know what they were doing, but yeah, it just crushed his race, and now he's starting 36. Now, Pocono has not been the greatest track for him, but it doesn't matter. You're starting 36, 9,400. A guy like Logano can certainly get a top 5. It would not surprise me. Now, he has not done that recently, but he was running very well at this race on Saturday. I'm getting really confused. I keep wanting to say last week, but it's yesterday, and then it's throwing me off. Either way, he's been really good at flat tracks so far this season. He was really good at Martinsville. He was really good at Phoenix, and he looked pretty good yesterday at Pocono. So I don't see why he can't get a top 15 for us, and at 9,400, starting 36, I think that's going to be just fine. And speaking of starting 36, Christopher Bell started 36, and I said if he finished top 5, I would eat the L. I am eating the L. He crushed. He finished 4th? He hit his absolute ceiling. I figured I could avoid him getting his absolute ceiling. Apparently not, so yeah, I'll eat the L there. I can own that. I cannot believe Christopher Bell did that well, but shout out to Christopher Bell. That was really impressive. He's been running really well, so shout out to Christopher Bell. But yeah, Joey Logano, 9,400, starting 36. He's going to be probably the most popular play on the slate, right behind Erik Jones. I do expect Erik Jones to be the highest owned driver once again, which is a common theme so far this season. But yeah, Logano, he's going to be right there with him. Starting 36, there's basically no downside here, and he should be one of the best plays on the entire slate. Don't even care about his numbers here. Just all about the starting spot and the salary. So yeah, like Logano, he's been excellent so far this season. At these types of tracks, his numbers are pretty darn good. He's got 1 win, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 8 top 15s. Yeah, we like Logano quite a bit. Jimmie Johnson, he's 9,200. He is starting 21st. Not my favorite play in the world. I wouldn't talk you off of him. I mean, he's had a pretty good season so far. It's just Pocono's not his greatest track in the world. If we're looking at the past 6 races, he does have 4 top 20s. He finished 21st on Saturday. He's okay. I mean, he's probably going to get a top 15 if all goes well for him, but I just think there's better plays in the slate. But I won't talk you off of Jimmie Johnson. If you're looking at his numbers so far this season, I mean, he's been pretty darn good. Average running position of 13, average finish of 11, 5 top 10s, 8 top 15s, 9 top 20s. Johnson's okay. Not overly excited about it, but I certainly wouldn't talk you off of him. Clint Bowyer, he's starting 14th. He actually had a pretty good run on Saturday. He's 9,000. Pocono's been a decent track for him. Pretty solid, averaging 36 Draftkings points per race here. Average finish of 11.7. Pretty good driver rating. Has a top 5, has a top 10. You can add to both of those because he obviously did that Pocono on Saturday. So Clint Bowyer's fine. He's starting 14th. PD upside is limited compared to the other drivers, and he's a little expensive. I know he was 9,500 starting 18th, but just the way the slate sets up, I don't think I'm going to have too much Clint Bowyer, but it would not surprise me if he gets another top 10, which I actually think that he's got a decent shot at that. So I think Clint Bowyer's okay, but at 9,000, look, Jimmie Johnson starting 7 spots further back. I know he hasn't been that great at Pocono, but I could see that. I could see him outscoring Clint Bowyer, and then Joey Logano, 400 more is obviously a tremendous play. Not saying you can't play both, or even all 3 if you wanted to. Not really going my way to do that, but Clint Bowyer, I mean, Fords have been fast. You need high horsepower at this track, which the Fords certainly have. So Bowyer's more of a tournament option there. Wouldn't go there in cash games. Christopher Bell, I said I didn't have time to update the stat sheet from the last race, but you could give Christopher Bell all these green. You could pretend it was all green because he's had 1 cup race here, and he absolutely smashed. He started 36th. I think he finished 4th, and he scored around 70 DraftKings points. And yeah, he smashed. Yeah, he made me look stupid. I did not think he was going to get top 5. I mean, I thought he was going to get a top 15, which I was like, I don't think that's still going to be enough. No, he got a top 5. He crushed. And now he's 8,800, starting 17th. He's fine. He doesn't offer the most PD upside, and I don't think he's going to get another top 5, but he should be able to stay in the top 15. But I do think people are going to chase those points we got yesterday, and he's about almost 3,000 cheaper. So I could see people chasing it. Not my favorite play in the slate, but he is in play just because of how impressive he looked, but I'm not like going my way to chase those 70 points he scored just because he finished 4th the one race. Starting 17th, I mean, there's better PD plays in the slate. I mean, you got Alex Bowman starting 27th, who's 300 cheaper, but Christopher Bell's okay. He's okay, but not going to, like, make him a priority to get in my lineup. William Byron, I liked William Byron a lot on Saturday. It seems like he pit so many times. He was having a really good race early on and middle through the race, and then he was kind of just not a back marker, but he was just in the back half of the field, made it to the mid-pack. I think he finished 14th or 15th. It was a meh race, kind of disappointing, but previous years or previous races at Pocono, he's been very good. He was in the past 3 optimal lineups here. Average finish of 9.3, which is one of the best out of any driver. Averaging 50 DraftKings points per race, 3 top 10s in 4 attempts. Obviously now that's 5 attempts, but has been a good track for him. But I am focusing on PD here. We do not have a lot of laps for dominator points. I don't think William Byron's going to get up front anyway, and he does not really offer us that much PD, so I don't think I'm going to have much, if any, William Byron on Sunday. Alex Bowman, he's 8,500. He is starting 27th. He is one of the best plays on the entire slate. I know Pocono is not one of his best tracks, But he just had an average running position of 13.7 here. He was actually running pretty solid for the most part all day on Saturday. And then he got into an issue. I think he scraped the wall at some point. He had to pit, kind of screwed his day. But starting 27th at 8,500, I expect him to be one of the more popular plays on the entire slate. I mean, I think most people are going to start their lineups with like Erik Jones, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and Joey Logano, and then you figure out the rest from there. And they're also not that expensive either. Like the most expensive guy I said right there was Joey Logano at 9,400, so it's not like it's impossible to do. So I haven't tried building a lineup yet, but you might even be able to fit in a high-end guy. I'm not totally sure. I'm not sure he would go with at the low end yet, but it's certainly possible. But Alex Bowman, he's one of the best plays on the entire slate. He can be a very up or down driver. It seems like something always happens to him, kind of like Erik Jones, but I think he'll be fine. If we're looking at these types of tracks, he's got an average running position of 13.5, which is right on par with his Pocono numbers pretty much. He's got 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s. Bowman's going to be a pretty good play here. I expect him to be very popular, not that hard to fit in your lineup. Kurbashi starting third. I don't have any interest here. I mean, Pocono's not been his worst track by any means. He's got an average running position of 14.5, average finish of 13.8. He's had a good season pretty much the entire year. I mean, he's been one of the most consistent drivers. Average finish of 7.9, 3 top 5s, 8 top 10s. I mean, he's been pretty rock solid. But starting third, there's no PD upside. I'm viewing this more as a PD race, so Kurt Busch not really on my radar. Ricky Stenhouse, same goes for him. I didn't like him when he was starting 14th at 7,900, so I'm not sure why I would like him at 8,100 starting 4th. So I will pass on Ricky Stenhouse. Matt Kenseth is another guy I'm not going to have any interest in. He actually ran pretty well on Saturday, and he got a 10th place finish, but again, there's just not that much PD to be had. I mean, if you're looking at his numbers here, they are pretty solid, and yes, he did back that up on Saturday, but for the most part this season, he's just not been that great. Average finish of 21, average running position of 20.6. So yeah, Kenseth really is not on my radar. Going down to MDB, he's 7,800, starting 8th. Another guy, he's just starting a little bit too far ahead. I much prefer the next two guys I'm going to talk about, so I'll spare you on any MDB and Kenseth talk. I am just probably not going to end up playing them at all. But two of the best plays on the slate, we have Tyler Reddick. He comes in at 7,600. He is starting 30th, and he's basically the guy that ruined our day with Erik Jones because he ran him over, basically, and just killed our day, which absolutely sucks. But I'll forgive him because he's starting 30th. He's been the best rookie all season long. He is absolutely crushed. He's out-driving that number 8 car. Denny Hammonds had 2 really good races in the 8 car last year. Tyler Reddick was doing okay for the most part on Saturday, but obviously wrecking into Erik Jones completely murdered his day, tore up his car. He was able to limp around the track the rest of the way, but starting 30th, I mean, he should be able to contend for a top 15. His price is really nice. I had interest in him at around this price tag when he was starting 15th in tournaments, so starting 30th, basically the same price tag. Yeah, I'm going to have some interest. Just excusing this race he just had. I mean, if you're looking at the one track he's had that's similar so far this season, he finished 11th. He had 41 Draftkings points, had an average running position of 14.3. This season, he's got an average finish of 15.6, average running position of 14.6, 3 top 10s, 6 top 15s. Tyler Reddick is one of the better plays on the entire slate. But speaking of the best play on the entire slate, and I'm hoping he does not do what he just did again, because the bright side is the worst he can do for us is like 6 points, I think, something like that. Because if you start at 40th and you finished 40th, you'd score 4. So it's like around 6 to 8 points, something like that. So he can't go negative for us, which is a good start. He's only 7,400. And hear me, I know Erik Jones, he's very hit or miss. He's literally the highest owned driver almost every single slate, and he's either going to crush or he's going to just murder our lineups. And it seems like every single time he's running really well, and then he gets into an incident where he cuts a tire. This time he got into an incident, Tyler Reddick destroyed him. But Erik Jones was running in the top 5 at one point of this race, and then he had a pit. They were cycling through. He was near the mid-pack to the back, and he just got cut up behind a slow car. Tyler Reddick ran him over, and then that sucked. I was doing really well before that. Like, everyone was doing well. Busch was doing good. Hamlin was doing good for the most part. Truex was doing good. Harvick was making his way up. But, man, then Erik Jones crashes, and then everything just, man, sucked. It absolutely sucked. He was 91% in cash games, and I think he was 82% in the $121 single entry, and that was when he was starting 19th. Now he's starting 38th, and he's 300 more. I mean, he's probably going to be 95+% owned in cash games. I don't know if people are going to be mad at him because they burned him on Saturday if they fade him because of that, which I get. But starting 38th, I mean, this has been one of his best tracks in the entire series, and he's got an average finish of 8.3 here, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. Erik Jones is elite at Pocono. Obviously, that didn't happen last race, so his numbers are going to be skewed once I update this. But look, he's going to probably contend for a top 10 here if he's instant free, which I know seems to be like a struggle for Erik Jones, but hate to say it, but he is, again, the best play on the slate. Expect him to be very, very high owned. I know if you're mad at Erik Jones, you're probably going to want to go underweight in the field on him or fade him. I understand the pain, but you got to put your emotions away when it comes to DFS, and we're going to have to play Erik Jones again. There is zero downside here. The worst he can get us is probably close to 10 points, and the ceiling is astronomical because the guy literally could contend for a win at the end of the race. It would not surprise me. JGR has been excellent here. And yes, I know he totaled his car, so that could be a little bit of concern, but he should be fine, guys. We do not need much out of Erik Jones to be a good play, and he should perform very well. So yes, we like Erik Jones again, unfortunately. Bubba Wallace, he's starting 22nd. Not much interest there. He's probably going to finish anywhere from 20th to 25th, 7,300. Not really that excited about it. I mean, so far this season, he's got an average finish of 21.4, average running position of 21.2. He's probably going to finish right around where he starts, which I need some more PD out of that. I mean, it's not a terrible play, but he's just not exciting. Erik Amuro, he's 7,200. He's starting 18th. Another guy I did not think was going to hold that lead. Like, I can admit when I'm wrong. I did not think Erik Amuro was going to hold that lead at all. I thought Ryan Blaney was going to beat him on the start of the race. Didn't happen. He held that lead. Clean air was very big. I mean, I really thought Blaney he's third in average green flag speed this season. He was just on an absolute hot streak. I thought he was going to overtake him soon. Did not happen. Almirola led a lot of laps. Pretty sure he led the most laps in this race. And then that 4-tire stop ruined his win, but he had to get 4 tires the way the pit strategy went. So that kind of sucked. But at 7,200, starting 18th, he should be okay. Now, before that race, this has not been a great track for him, but I mean, Ford's been fast all season. He's 7,200. He should contend for a top 15. He does have, well, now if you add 2 top 10s and 4 top 15s, he should be fine. It's a pretty fair price tag. So I do think Erik Amuro is a pretty good play at a fair price point. If you're looking at his numbers this season, he's got an average running position of 13.6, which is actually pretty darn good. 4 top 10s, 1 top 5, which you could add that to 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 6 top 15s, and so on. So Erik Amuro, he's at a pretty good price, and I actually think he is a pretty solid play. I wish I said that on Saturday, but hey, I didn't like him, but I think he's fine now. All right, Ty Dillon, he's 7,000. He is starting 26th. So I didn't play him when he was 34th and 71 or 7,200. Now he's starting 26 and he's at 7,000. Not really sure why I would tell you to play him now. So I don't plan on having really much Ty Dillon at all, if any. All right, dropping down to the 6K tier, we have Lawnmower Man Daniel Suarez at 6,800, starting 28th. I don't even play Suarez when he's starting 37th, so at pretty much a similar price, starting 28th. I don't know, again, why I would tell you to play him, so I would not play Daniel Suarez. He's probably going to finish around 28th. And the thing is with Suarez, he's always been at least a decent floor play because he's been starting in the very back, and he's probably going to gain close to 10 spots. This time, he's probably going to finish here, so not really too high on Daniel Suarez. I think he's a bit overpriced. I mean, if you're looking at his numbers at Pocono in recent years, yeah, his numbers were excellent, but much different circumstances now. He's not in a JGR car anymore. He's not in a Stewart-Haas racing equipment car anymore. So now he's in the 96 car. The circumstances have changed drastically. I mean, this season he's got an average finish of 26.5, average running position of 28.1, which is right on par where he finished. So Daniel Suarez will be a pass for me. I mean, I know there's not a lot of good cheap options, so maybe you're forced to put him in a lineup or two, but not really. Don't really want to play Suarez. Cole Custer, he is starting way too high to be in consideration for me. Now, he did have a pretty good running on Saturday, I will say that, but he's more than likely going to lose quite a bit of spots. Now, I know it is hard to pass at Pocono, so maybe he could stay in the top 10, but you're pretty much guaranteed to lose place differential spots with Cole Custer. But yes, I do realize we do not have any good cheap options, so maybe you throw a dart on one of these guys and just hope they can not lose too many PD spots, but I have a hard time seeing Custer being that great of a play. I mean, he's probably going to finish in the top 20, but outside of that, 15th to 20th place car more than likely. Chris Buescher, he had an excellent run on Saturday, 6,400. I said I liked his experience here. I forget a lot of questions. I think it was Cole Custer versus Chris Buescher. I mean, that was a tough call. They were starting right near each other, and they both did pretty well. But Chris Buescher, I mean, he's been good here in his career. Got the momentum right now. So the past 6 races, Chris Buescher had 4 top 20s. Now you can make that the past 7 races. He has 5 top 20s, 2 top 15s. And starting 11th, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's higher up. It's farther back than Ryan Newman and Cole Custer, which I do like. But we're really close to the ceiling here. I can't see him moving up really any spots. Maybe he stays in the top 15, which if he loses a couple spots at 6,400, it's not going to kill you. If he can stay in the top 15, that's not too bad at 6,400. We can live with losing a couple of PD spots because there's literally no one down here I really like outside of John Hunter Nemechek for the most part. So if you have to play Chris Buescher and just hope he gets a top 15, I don't hate it. And he's done it before here at Pocono, so Buescher's fine, but it's really a wasteland down here for the most part. Ryan Newman, he's starting way too high. He's starting 6th. Look, he's actually been decently solid at Pocono. 1 top 10, 4 top 15s, 5 top 20s. You can add a 1 to most of those numbers. But he's going to lose spots here, so I don't want to play Ryan Newman. John Hunter Nemechek might be the chalk down here. I have yet to make my projections. I have yet to make lineups. I haven't done an article yet or really anything. But John Hunter Nemechek, he's like the only guy down here that offers us some PD upside. He's actually been pretty solid this season. He finished 24th on Saturday. 6,100. He's probably going to get top 25, and he's like the only guy down here that I think can get positive PD points. So I could see John Hunter Nemechek being the highest owned in this low range because do we want to play Dillon on the pole? No. Do we want to play Priest not on the pole, but on the front row? No. Do we want to play Priest on the pole? No. So there's just really nowhere to go. So I could see John Hunter Nemechek probably being the best play in the 6K range. Austin Dillon, he's starting 2nd. No, thank you. I think that speaks for itself. Ryan Preece on the pole. Look, I know I said I didn't like Erik Amuro on the pole, but Ryan Preece does not have the car Erik Amuro does. He is not in Stewart-Haas equipment. No thank you on Ryan Preece. He is going to lose PD spots. If he wins the race, I don't even know what to say anymore, but Preece is just not going to be a factor here, and he's going to lose spots, so don't like Preece. He's probably going to finish anywhere from 20th to 25th. Corey LaJoie, and just don't forget, guys, this was an invert, so he did finish 20th, which is probably right around where he's going to finish again. Corey LaJoie, he's starting 23rd. Again, you might be forced to throw him in there just because he's one of the only guys back here that doesn't have a starting spot inside the top 5, it seems like. So it's not the worst play in the world. If you're looking at his numbers so far this season, he's got an average finish of 26, average running position of 25.6. He's probably going to lose a couple spots, but it's better than losing 20-ish spots that Ryan Preece is going to. It's better than losing 10 to 15 spots that Austin Dillon will. So LaJoie's not the worst, but there's just no one down here. Michael Mcdowell, he is 5,500. This guy just keeps on getting a good race after good race. He just keeps on putting up solid numbers as well. Like before the race on Saturday, he came in with the 15th most average DraftKings points scored per race. I had to imagine that went up. He had another great race. He started 26th, and he got a top 10, which is incredible. I mean, Michael McDowell has just been so good, and Pocono is actually a pretty good track for him. Before the last race, he had an average finish of 20.7. Obviously, you had to bump that up a little bit. So McDowell starting 13th, it's not great, but it would not surprise me if he gets a top 15. He's just been running so well. He's cheap, 5,500. McDowell's okay. Now, he's more than likely going to lose spots, but it would not surprise me if he gets another top 20, top 15. It's just, I think he's a lock to lose PD spots, but, I mean, he just looked so good on Saturday. He's probably going to have at least another solid running. It's just, I just hate that all of our cheap options are starting so close up because it's really going to make it hard to fit in guys like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Hamlin, those kind of guys, Chase Elliott. But after McDowell, don't really have too much interest in anyone. Brendan Poole starting 29th. Probably going to finish right around there. James Davison looked okay. I mean, he never had practice on the Cup car before. It was his first Cup race. Finished 34th, not too bad. It's not the greatest, but not too bad. Quinn Houff starting dead last. I mean, there's just really no one I want to play back here. So I guess the lowest I'd want to go is maybe Davison, maybe Poole, just because they're probably not going to lose much PD spots, if any, maybe even gain a couple, so it's not the worst. But outside of that, I really have no interest in any of these guys. If you want to just completely front load your lineup, getting all those PD guys, and you want to throw in Half starting 40th, it might not be the worst thing in the world. I mean, he had 2 cup races here. He's got an average finish of 30th, and so far this season, he's got an average finish of 32.5, which would be about 8 place differential spots. So maybe I should extend that to Half just because he's starting 40th. There's nowhere to go but back, and the lowest he can get you is 4 points. So it's not the worst in the world. So I actually don't hate it. And I just realized I kept saying Erik Jones was like starting dead last. That is not the case. I forgot that Quinn Half got issues, and then BJ McLeod started and parked pretty much for the most part. So I did mess up there, but for the most part, Erik Jones is starting in the back. But yeah, anyway, Quinn Half is pretty much the lowest I would go. But outside of that, I have no interest in pretty much anyone else. So that's going to be it for the video. This was a little bit shorter than usual, but I wanted to get the video out quick enough. I'm going to update the spreadsheet now. I'm going to work on the article. Then hopefully Erik Jones does not crash again, because that absolutely sucked. But yeah, I'll be going live tomorrow at 11 or 12. We'll figure that out. I'll post it on Twitter. But you'll probably see it on YouTube. I'll have it posted on YouTube as well. So it's going to be it. Wish you guys the best of luck. Hopefully our guys don't crash. But outside of that, we can't project Rex. Wish you guys the best of luck. I'll see you on Sunday.